Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I haven't been playing Valorant for a few months now, and I got back into it this week. And as soon as I got back into it, Vicky gave me a challenge. If I get to Platinum this week, he will give me $100. That's crazy, guys. We just did a stream where I hopefully had some great games. I'm recording this slightly in the past, so I don't know yet. And this video, Vicky will VOD review me to put me in great shape to getting Platinum this week. Enjoy.
Here, just one thing to explain. When I'm playing Reyna, I'd prefer to use a Ghost and an extra heal on pistol round, and on offense, I'd go for the Leer instead, or the blind. Because on offense, what you want to be doing is you're duelist, you're meant to be entering for your team, so using that blind can help you actually take some of that space for your team. Okay, here, one thing. At the start of a game, I would really recommend to not ego peek or hold an aggressive angle because you know so little about how the enemies will actually play to the point where you could just get wide swung here and then absolutely rolled by, one of the enemies or get like swung by all five at the same time. So in this position, I would recommend jumping or jiggle peeking this angle, getting info, not trying to take a fight or a duel. If in a situation like this you do actually see an enemy, you should calm it out immediately and fall back a bit so that you can actually play with your team. Because here, if the enemies wide swing you and then push up, you're stranded here all alone. Viper might be able to come here and help you, but I doubt they'll be able to help you if you're stuck in a corner and they're just like wallbanging you, you know? After leaving the angle, it would always be the best to calm it out to your team. Here's my logic. Just calm out everything that you see and everything that you hear, right? So if you peek an angle and you see someone, calm it out. If you peek an angle and you don't see someone, calm it out. Because if you calm out in this situation that you did not see anyone A main, it reduces the number of places that the enemy can play. You should also clarify to your team that you left the angle to prevent a timing happening. Basically meaning if your Viper was holding drop from, like sight here and didn't realize you left A main, then the enemies could just work up A main and then kill her. So just to prevent the timing, just calm out that you are leaving, A site or A main rather.
Arcade.
But yeah, that's kind of what I guess would happen here. Okay, so before rotating anywhere, you need to first find out how many enemies are at the place you're rotating to, if they're pushing fast or if they're pushing slow. Or, they could also just be playing pigs though. That's kind of unlikely since it's pistol round. And depending on their type of push, it might be wise not to rotate until there is more clarity on where they're going and like where they are and just where they're going basically, right? Because if you know where the enemies are, you can probably figure out, oh, if there is four enemies B main and then one B arcade, then they're probably going to be pushing A, right? Like then it's fine maybe to rotate. But there's one other catch to that, which one more thing you should do is after deciding to rotate, you should check if there's any of your teammates on site holding so that they can stall if the enemies decide to rotate to the site. If there is, then you should tell them that you are rotating so that they don't get caught off guard from an angle you were holding. Kind of like the timing situation I explained earlier, right? So you should tell them that you are rotating so that they don't get killed from an angle thinking you're still holding it. If there is no one on site, then you could do one of two things. Calm your teammate to hold the site and lurk, right? Or calm, or like not calm, you yourself actually hold the site so that, you're the lurk. However, there's one thing I would like to point out now that you can actually see this. So you see here how you are playing Reyna and your Viper's in front of you and there's no one on site, then you see how you're behind them? It would be best then in this situation for you to go back and hold A instead, since if you're both in a position where you're already rotating, it'd be best for the person who's furthest back to rotate back because, it leaves the least amount of time possible for the enemies to lurk up and take sight. And this is something now I'm realizing, which I should have realized first and made very clear. The most important thing here while rotating, watch the angles where enemies could peek you from. You have your knife out and you're running with your back turned, well, I guess side technically, but your back turned to drop. You had no one watching drop, which leaves so much room for the enemies to just lurk up here and get a free shot on you while you are, having your back turned to them because it's just a free kill, they'll take it. So what I would recommend doing here is since you don't actually know if there's anyone there, if you are anyway going to rotate here, at least watch the angle with your gun out while rotating. That way, if you do get swung, instead of just having to, like, I don't know, spin around in circles while trying to pull your gun out, you can instead just immediately shoot back at them. Okay, this is now not something I'm sure you're doing, but I think I should still recommend you do this since it does help a lot. While you know you are safe, you should make it habit to check the minimap because it allows for you to gauge which way the round is going and make choices on how to play the rest of the round. The minimap is the best friend of all players. Although it is more prevalent in the lower ranks, you should still, use it even in the high ranks. It's just the best friend of all players because it allows for you to know the enemies, where the enemies are, even if your team is just a no-com brain dead team, you know what I mean? And if you can use the minimap to your advantage, then you should use it, Any advantages in this game. If you can find any advantage, you should take it. Okay. You should use this minimap here. Like in this situation, you're in CT. You know that there's no one that could be in CT, so you're safe. You know that for sure, so you should be checking the minimap. The minimap is very helpful for deciding how to play out the rest of the round. Like if you were watching the minimap here, you'd know that only one person was seen the arcade, meaning there could very well be a person that, flanks here.
I'll linger for a bit because we
That's
don't
good.
actually see anyone else.
Yep.
Spike
And there it
planted.
is. That's the
Yeah,
flank.
Reyna was lurking. It's meant to be.
Okay, two things in this situation, right? One thing is while swinging out of CT. Okay,
It's
you see how you're swinging out here with your knife out? There could be someone like standing A main just waiting for you. So you should be checking there first of all. If anyone's there, you're like watching this angle. I don't know if there's going to be anyone here since you already held that angle while swinging from CT into this area here. But you should be checking if there are any enemies watching from B main because right now if you looked at the minimap you only know that Breach is here. You don't know actually where KJ is, so KJ could actually just be standing B main here with the mollies for the bomb just waiting for you to swing and then just kill you here, right? So if you were looking well at the minimap while running through CT while swinging, you should also make sure your gun is all the way out here. You see how your gun's like in the middle of this animation right here? You're still like pulling it out, pulling it back, So before swinging angles, you should not probably, you should definitely not be in the middle of an animation because, if you get caught in an animation, then someone could shoot you while, you can't shoot back at them. That's never the way you want to fight to be going. No, that
meant
should
to be.
cover it. Okay, here's one more thing now. Actually, here, while swinging this angle, crosshair placement should be a bit higher. This is just something I thought I'd mention since every single person in the world can improve upon their crosshair placement. So this is just something I'd like to point out. Though mostly crosshair placement, just so you all know, crosshair placement comes mostly just from playing, the game. Like, if you just play the game more, your crosshair placement will be better.
Nice, nice. Last two site, yeah.
One enemy remaining.
Tower.
Reloading.
Nice.
Okay, one thing about this defuse, which I saw you pulled out tab. I'm not sure if you were just looking at it for the sake of looking at tab and seeing how you were placed, which is, by the way, something you should really not be doing, since you should not be checking tab to see how you're placed on the team or how the enemies are placed on their team. What you should be using tab to check is how close everyone is to their ult and how much money they have. That's really about it. This position, right? Once all the enemies are dead in general, right? Once all the enemies are dead, the bomb is planted, you're on defense, and there is time to defuse, like more than enough time. You should check how far everyone is from their ult, and if their ults are important and useful for the team as a whole in the next round. The reason you should do this is working towards your Reyna ult here isn't actually the best idea because your ult is like not something you'll actually be needing really soon. However, your Jet, who got 4 kills, is now 4 off of their, or has 4 ult orbs, meaning that 3 off of their ult. So instead, if you gave her this orb, she would only need to like get a kill and then die next round, and she'd have her ulti up again, or up in, for the first time, I guess, this game. But yeah, so if someone is closer to their ult, I'm gonna make a priority list, and here's one exception to this priority list. If someone is closer to their ult, it should also be taken into account. So like this Jet, their ult is not like the highest priority, but because they're so close, you might want to give them the orb since, they could get it technically in the next round, which, could help you win the round if, something happens here. So I'm going to make an ult priority list. Weapon ults, meaning jet, chamber, neon, right? These ults should be taken with the least priority. This ult is main, like, upside is the fact that it can be used on a save round as a weapon or as like a way to buy a teammate and use, the weapon instead. So weapon ults are the lowest priority depending on the eco of the team. Then info gathering ults are the middle priority since they help with knowing where the enemies are, but they are not as important as initiating and space taking slash holding ults. And then the highest priority for your ults to get is initiating and space taking slash holding ults because they help your entire team and can make site takes and holds way, way easier. Like, you could win just rounds off of them alone. It's why Viper ult is so strong for, like, defense. You can just hold down the area and people have to push into, your ult without any knowledge of where you are or where to go, which is not great. Okay, yeah, that's a basic run it down of ult priority list. This angle here that you're holding is far, far too passive. At the start of a round, you should never really be holding an angle this passive because, well, it depends. If you're playing like someone who needs to stay alive, like a sentinel or a controller, maybe it's fine to play this passive, but otherwise you should not really be playing this passive. At the start of the round here, you see how your Sage is holding right here, B main. You should probably be playing here and holding her arcade so she doesn't get shot in the back. But I wouldn't hold it. I'd just jiggle peek it for info. Tell your Sage that, the enemies are behind you. And then you, like, swing off of each other's contact or something, right? Swinging off someone's contact, by the way, is where they get seen by the enemy. And then once the enemy's turn to kind of, like, fight them, you swing. So that they're, like, in a crossfire, basically. They're pinched. Ah, yes. Good.
Breach stun.
Good job. Okay, good.
I see nothing dish.
Okay, here's one more thing. Don't turn your like back to angles that enemies could swing you from. Just like don't. It's not great. You get shot in the back and then you mauled because you got shot in the back. It's a good thing here that you're deciding to help your Sage out after you hear gunfire there, right? That's good. But you're also neglecting the fact that there could be like one or two enemies just lurking up behind you right now in the arcade. So what I would say here is watch arcade until you're like about right here, and then turn around and start looking at B main to try and take a fight there.
Yeah, it's definitely B. Unless it's not.
Okay, don't turn your back again to angles where the enemies could be. You just, like, pulled an animation out and had your back to the enemies, and now you have your knife out. And also, you just killed the Reyna who was B main. Most of the time, when people get picked off, they get refragged. People should be trying to do that more. Meaning, basically, you're holding an angle with a teammate, and then once they kill one of you, the other one kills them, right? You just killed the, you know, you just killed the Sage, which, or the Reyna, I meant. And that means one of the enemies who could have been there could just shoot you in the back for free while trying to just refrag the Reyna, which is not what you normally want, since it's never great giving enemies free picks, especially on a round where they have no guns and you do. And second thing here, falling back to spawn is fine if you're going to hold B, but if we unpause it here, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yep, you're just gonna keep rotating here, which is not great. I'm glad you're looking back at B, maybe thinking about going back to B, but you should never try and just rotate for the sake of rotating. There was no info that they were on A. Like, look at this. Skydog was just here. It just looked at this angle, and I'm pretty sure it'll look at that angle. So basically all of A main is clear. So that's one thing. And instead here, if you really wanted to fall back to spawn, just hold from spawn. You don't need to rotate yet. There's no info on the need to rotate. Maybe playing in spawn is actually fine, since it's actually maybe even better to play in spawn, since you can get info for the team on where they're going and also play in a safe spot where you won't die, meaning, you'll still keep like the numbers. Yeah, that should be
Oh, yeah,
good.
pushing.
Okay, good. They are pushing A actually.
Oh, dish. Killjoy main. Killjoy is on site.
Blocking sight.
I think, yeah.
One enemy remaining.
Nice round, guys.
The more you play on one site, the better you'll get at playing on that site, which is why most people choose a site and they stick to it.
There's a small problem.
Okay, here. I'm not sure if you were just peeking that in general or jiggle peeking it, but in general, even no like if that was a jiggle or a peek, you never want to be walking like during a peek. It just gets rid of all of that peeker's advantage that you could have, and it'll basically be giving it to them because they can see you before you can actually see them, which is unfortunate to say the least. And also, you never want to be wide swinging really that much. You want to be like not always, but like it's normally better in that situation to short swing in bursts, as in like how to explain it. When you're swinging the angle, you swing like corner by corner by corner by corner, not all at once. You know what I mean? Good
But
enough.
the site like
Spike
right
down.
here, yeah.
Attacker spawn.
Oh, got it. Everybody can rotate. I'm pretty sure I could probably hold off this.
Spike down B. You need to suffer.
No, don't do this. So here, you're flanking, obviously, right? And it's very, very important while you're flanking to keep track of numbers advantage in general, and it's really important to keep track of numbers advantage because if you have numbers, you should try and get out of the flank after getting your pick so that you can not so that you stay alive and you don't give them a chance to come back with your pick and even out numbers. So in this position, what I'd suggest you do is instead of peeking this KJ, try like running back to A main, either by running or using the dismiss. Though in my opinion, what I would do is I'd run back right up until either an enemy swings or this dismiss is about to end, and then I'd dismiss so that, I'm 100% safe. So I'd use that to get back into A main, and then I'd rotate around all the way back to B so that, you can have a fight with your team or play A. But I'd go B since your Viper's holding A. I'm just rambling. What the heck? Yeah, that should be good enough.
Here, play back.
Good. Your Viper has really good game sense.
Do we know where Killjoy is? She was B main. Yeah. Where do you
One
usually
enemy
play in
remaining.
this ult? All right.
Thirty seconds left.
He's in tunnel, correct? No time to rotate, I don't think.
Okay, here. One thing that I'm noticing now, which is not great here.
30.
In this position, right? You see how your Jet's right here holding main? You have no need to be watching any of this site since you know they were just last main. You saw them earlier. So instead of watching main with our Jet, right? You should have turned around here and watched B arcade since the enemies could have gone underneath the tunnel and then come around here and killed you or come around to heaven and killed you. So after seeing that they were holding main, you should know that there's no way you can die from there. So you should be watching one of the other spots you can die to, which is mostly arcade. There's a tiny chance they could have gone heaven, but I doubt it.
30 seconds left.
He's in tunnel, correct? No time to rotate, I don't think.
Okay, here one thing. You're holding this angle far, far too close. Like, way too close to the angle. If this KJ was to swing you properly, they would swing right past your crosshair and you would miss your shots because of crosshair placement. So, what I'd recommend here is to, like, sorry, I moved it a bit too far. Okay, like, look at this. Your crosshair is, like, not even in the open area. Now it's, like, on the wall here, right? I'd recommend keeping it around this darker line of the back wall here. You see it? So, if you keep your crosshair there, then the enemies will just swing and then they'll counter strafe when they see you, and then your crosshair is already on their head because you need to keep in account for like reaction time. If your crosshair is here, first of all, I don't think it's properly head level. I think head level is like around here. And then also, even if it was at the right head level, you don't have enough reaction time to take this fight. No one does. It's like almost impossible to hit it unless you pre-fire. And it's actually impossible to hit it unless you pre-fire since nobody has that fast reaction time.
10 seconds
Okay. I notice now that here, if we
left.
continue this, right? Yeah. You don't calm out that you are hearing KJ plant, and you should immediately calm it. If there's 8 seconds left, they can't go to the other site, you should immediately calm your Viper so the Viper can start rotating, because when the bomb only takes 45 seconds to, go boom, every single second counts. So I would recommend just calming more in general, actually. This game, you haven't actually calmed all that much.
Spike planted.
This angle there you were watching was very useless. They couldn't have come through door. You would have heard the sound of them going through door.
Oh wow.
And also, once again, while trying to rotate off, you weren't watching Dish, which, by the way, nobody was watching. Just wanted to point that out. Again.
Here, come here, Reina. I think once they peek out, I'm gonna one-way it, and then we can get one or two, hopefully.
Okay, just so you know, by the way, I don't think this is a one-way. I'm almost 100% sure this is actually not a one-way. Because most of the time, to make a one-way, what you need is the high ground. And here you actually don't have the high ground on them. You're also much closer to the angle than they are to it, which is why I don't think at all that this is a one-way. So just, don't do this one-way. It might be, and I might be wrong, but like still.
One enemy
put it
remaining.
down.
Good thing you checked
Spike
drop there
down
too.
A.
Is he like a lurky, or what does he do?
Your duty is not over. Wait. Gun here. This feels different.
Okay, yeah. While fighting that Yoru, as you can probably have told from that guessed, not telled. Telled isn't even a word. Don't spray. Spraying makes you lose fights like that. That's an easy fight since the Yoru was also spraying. Instead of spraying, if you take your time, all of this aim stuff, like, takes time to develop, but like you also need to put conscious into it to make it easier and also like practice it. But if instead of spraying at him in that fight, you counter strafe, took your times and did taps or bursts, right? He was spraying, he would like have a way harder time hitting you. Whereas if you were like counter strafing and tapping, you would have like your bullets actually going to your crosshair, which is more reliable. In my opinion, just try not to do anything that involves RNG in this game. It's just not great. That's why I've learned not to right click with jet knives as a jet mate. I have too much PTSD and trauma. That's good. That was a perfect jiggle peek, man. Okay. Now look at this. This situation is actually better. Well,
Tell me
maybe
if you
not
need
if you
to
cover
smoke
it with
up.
your gun. Okay. So, earlier I said this position is not good, but in this scenario, it's actually really good because your jet had control of A main. So the only place where they could actually come from was arcade, and this is a pretty good off angle. So this angle works really nice.
Enemy spotted. See ya.
Is it all through dish? I can't see anything. I'm walled.
One
105
enemy
breach.
remaining.
Nice. Viper's sight. Well played, Reina.
That was well played.
Many enemies B.
I'm actually gonna sit here and wait for Yoru. Sky, you want to run a flank with me?
Feeling safe.
I don't know about that swing there.
Feeling safe.
You're swinging into multiple. You're just playing far too aggressive. He doesn't need to push up that far, but. Okay, here, 1 second. You don't need to be watching. Even before this Viper wall up, you didn't need to be watching B main since your Sage had it under control and Viper was flanking it. However, you do need to watch Arcade since, no one is covering it. They could peek, they could lurk up and kill your Sage here, or kill you since you're watching this angle. So, yeah, it would probably be of the best interest to watch Arcade.
Don't talk about that whiff.
Yep, and there's the push from Arcade. That's bomb. Okay, no.
Down B.
I would absolutely not recommend you falling off this angle right now. You should keep watching Arcade here. Since, your Viper was flanked up here, your Sage was holding main. They had like a crossfire there earlier. So they probably had more people going Arcade. And you rotating here, I don't even know if that's what you're doing, but you moving off that angle here allows for the enemies to work up Arcade and get a timing on you and Sage.
Killjoy B main.
One enemy remaining.
Okay, good. You're going back to check Arcade, though it might be a bit. Yep, it's a bit late. They lurked up once you fell off the angle there. Okay. It's fine to lurk on Reyna. Most people get mad at you if you do, and it's not actually as bad as people make it seem, but it's also situational. You should only lurk if you are confident you know where someone will do something and you can catch them off guard. Or if you know your team won't actually need help to take site, meaning you can, help them. I would also not lurk normally on a pistol round since you, once again, have no info on how the enemies will play it out. Like at the beginning of the game, you had no info on how they'll play there. Here, you also don't have any info on how they'll play, so, it's best to push in with your team on pistol rounds. Yeah. I also...
Here's a frenzy.
Okay, now you've also stayed at this angle, I think, for a little bit too long. Since your team has already started to take fights, and by the time you lurk up here, if you finally lurk all the way around without getting caught by an enemy, you might not have enough time to help your team, and they also might lose some numbers here in main since, they don't have a duelist actually with them, which is kind of sad actually. One duelist is meant to go on each side, and all of your teammates that are not duelists are in one spot in that corner. It seems like the exact moment for catastrophe to strike.
Nice shots.
Wow, they're insane. Well, there goes 2 of your team. And yep, that's another reason why I wouldn't take that much time to lurk up, because now you have to run all the way back. Your lurk standing there was basically useless. Oh, what a shot. Oh, this is unfortunate for you.
Good try.
Thank you for watching till the very end. I hope you enjoyed. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps us out so much. You definitely do not want to miss us next week. If you want more content from us, click on this video.